If I were to hand you a piece of paper, and inside the piece of paper I have written the words, "I am going to cheat you," all right? And then I subsequently cheat you. I cheat you out of $10,000. It is not a defense to say, well, I told you I was going to do that. I was very transparent about it. No, that's not transparency. That's called being blatant and brazen. And that's what's happened here. Commissioner Bittersmith did not tell the Secretary of State's office what she was doing, and she did not tell them the industries that she was involved in. She is the executive director of the Southwest Cable Communications Association. The companies that provide membership dues there, and they're fairly substantial, are not just cable TV operators, but they are broadband providers. And so they have telecommunications and broadband being piped into everybody's home or lots of businesses within the state of Arizona. So every time that she's voting on a cable matter or a telecom matter, rather, she's acting in a conflict of interest. There are two ways that conflict of interest occurs. If she's voting on those things, on those telecom items where her company is a member in her organization, the Southwest Cable Communications Association, that's a direct conflict of interest. But suppose you're one of those telecommunication companies that don't belong to her organization. If your matter comes up before her, how can you feel confident that she's not bending over to help your competitor? When you put down that your husband, the company that you and your husband own is public affairs, that's not the whole story. The whole story is, and you can go to Commissioner Bittersmith's website for the company, Technical Solutions, and they say, we are involved in the telecommunication industry, the very industry that they're supposed to be regulating. To me, that's not being transparent, that's being brazen. She's using her position as a registered lobbyist, and she's using her position as a corporation commissioner to help drive business to her husband's, the company that she and her husband own, Technical Solutions.
Solicit business.
Yeah, that's the point of putting that out there, is to let everybody know, these are my credentials, this is why you want to come to our company. When Bob Parsons, a billionaire, the third richest man in the state of Arizona, wanted to get the golf course built, knew he had to move an APS substation, and knew he had to work with the city of Scottsdale to get everything re-permitted, what better company to go to than the one that had an Arizona Corporation Commissioner in it and someone who had been on the Scottsdale City Council. If the point of her being on the Corporation Commission is to allow her position to be sold as influence, we have a huge problem here, and that's what's going on.
In the Jennings v. Woods Supreme Court decision, do you see any ambiguities that may present openings for Bittersmith to keep her job?
No, actually, it's a very clear-cut decision. In Tony West, there was no indication that he had actually used his securities license to buy or sell securities or to do any transactions for anybody else. There was no discussion at all in that about money changing hands. I don't think that case is as strong as the one that we have presented about Susan Bittersmith, because we can show that she was being paid by the cable telecom industry. I think it's important to take a moment and clarify what I'm talking about here, and that's this. She keeps talking about, well, I only did it on behalf of the cable side, as if somehow this can all be separated, and it can't. When the company comes to provide service to your home, it's one fiber optic cable that gets connected to your home. Now, they can connect it to your telephone system or your television system or your internet system, but the plain fact of the matter is they bundle the services.
He was a very powerful legislator and had been close to Symington's folks in the real estate industry and securities industry, and kind of a player And I guess Tony had a reputation for being somewhat greedy. He could have gotten rid of his license ahead of time before he filed. He could have done any number of things. But you can't cure a defect like that after the fact, and that's what tripped him up.
Lee, can you tell us, were there any workplace ramifications for you for being a whistleblower in this situation?
Somewhat, yes. I am reluctant to comment at length on this or in too much detail. Some of the individuals are still working at the division, my office was moved, and my work came subject to micromanagement. This is all in the aftermath of the Arizona Republic's revelation of my identity as the whistleblower. And I have no problem with that. They were doing their journalistic job. But I am happy to report that I stood my ground and made it clear to management that I was not going to go gently into that good night, and that if they wanted to pick a fight, they would find me willing to continue the battle, as I knew where other bodies were buried.
If Attorney General Brnovich's office declines to do something, the remedy could be a demand for a writ of mandamus. That means we would do like Renz Jennings did with Grant Woods, file a petition in the Arizona Supreme Court asking the court to compel Mark Brnovich to do his job and remove Susan Bittersmith from the Arizona Corporation Commission. That could happen.